Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears here, and today I'm going to be making 4 cards using the brand new Sunny Lane collection from scrapbook.com. I love this collection not only because it's summery and I love everything summertime, but also because it has a retro vibe, and the retro vibe is going to be popular in 2023. So this collection consists of several dies, a stamp set, pattern paper. So let's take a look at everything that's included in this collection. First off, we have the Sunny Lane pattern paper. This pattern paper pad is already cut to A2 size sheets. So they're all 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's very easy to just use on an A2 size card without having to do any cutting. So you can see all of the fun designs in this paper pad. There's some butterflies and stripes, and I love these houses. You have a little neighborhood scene with a sky there in the background. There's some polka dots and a sunburst. And by the way, you do get 5 of each one of these pattern papers that you see. So there's plenty of patterns in here. They are front and back. So here's some more flowers, and I love the colors. There's lots of pinks and teals and greens and oranges, and you can use these houses as border strips to make a fun scene on your cards. And here is the Sunny Lane stamp set. It is a 6x8 stamp set. It includes those houses that you saw in the pattern paper. So you can actually stamp these out and color them. They're just a little bit larger than what you see here in the pattern paper, but they're the exact same style. And look at all of the sentiments that are included on this stamp set. I just love the retro vibe of the font that they've used in this stamp set. It's so much fun. So there's a few hello sentiments, there's some love sentiments, some thanks sentiments, and more. Also in this collection is the Thank You 3 die set. And I'm going to turn this over. You can see what you get. It includes the words and the shadow. So there's thanks, there's thank you, as well as hello. Next is the Sunburst die set. This is actually an A2 cover plate, so it will fit the front of an A2 size card. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and it makes a sunburst design. Now, I'm not sure if this die set is part of the Sunny Lane collection, but it is brand new to scrapbook.com, so I do want to show it. This is the scrapbook.com decorative bow topper die set. So if you ever need a bow for a card or any type of project, this die set is perfect because the bows come in all different sizes, and there are 10 bows in this die set. Next is the scrapbook.com Build and Layer Sunny Lane Floral die set. There are a total of 27 metal dies in this collection. So think about all of the flower possibilities you can create with this die set. And here on the back, it shows you what the dies will look like once you put them together with your cardstock. So you can look at this as a guide when selecting the flower dies on the front of this sheet. The next 2 die sets are the Sunny Lane Homes 1 and the Sunny Lane Homes 2 dies. So you get 2 of the houses with each set of dies. So here's a look at the 2 houses that are included in the Sunny Lane 1 die set, and here's a look at what the houses are in the Sunny Lane 2 die set. And you can see that they are identical to the houses in the pattern paper. They're just on a larger scale. So if you like die cutting, these are perfect because you can piece all the different color cardstocks together to create different color houses for whatever theme you're going for. And just because the name of this collection is geared more toward summertime, I want you to think outside the box and think of how else you can use these dies. And my first thought was creating a Christmas village to make a really cute Christmas scene with those houses. I will have links to these products as well as all products that I use in my video today down in the description box of this YouTube video. So if you are interested in any of the products, please take a look at the description box and you'll find those links. I will also have up close pictures of all the cards that I make today shown on my blog at lisamearsdesigns.com, and product links will also be over there. And the coordinating blog post will also be in the description box. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some cards. So I do want to show you that I'm going to also be bringing in the Sherbet Smooth cardstock from scrapbook.com. I think that the colors in this paper pad go nicely with the papers that are in the pattern paper pad. So from that paper pad, I did die cut this house die out of the hot pink cardstock. And I just want to bring this up close to show you that the brick design from the die is on the cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a Colorista marker. This is the red violet color from the Botanic Accents pack of watercolor markers. Now I'm not going to be doing any watercoloring right now, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each one of those little bricks with my marker. This marker matched closely with this cardstock, so that's why I chose to use it. But it's just a way of adding some more definition to the die cut piece by just coloring over the top with the marker. And to add some more depth to this die cut, I'm using the Candy Shop Pink ink from scrapbook.com, and I'm just inking the edges of the house. And by the way, this house is from the Sunny Lane Homes 2 die set. And just so you can get an idea of how tall it is, this particular house is 2 inches wide by 3.6 inches tall. And all of the measurements are on the scrapbook.com website in case you're wondering how tall each one of these houses is. So I die cut the shadow out of some pattern paper. I thought it was cute to have the pattern paper peeking through the window. And I'm going to go ahead and finish up putting this house together. I die cut one of the orange pieces of cardstock from that sherbet paper pad, and this is the canopy, and I'm inking the edges with the scrapbook.com orange cream ink to add some depth, and then I'll add this to the house. Now you can use these as houses, but for my card today, I'm actually going to be creating a little beach scene, and I'm actually going to be using this as a surf shop, so a little storefront. So for this little piece, I'm using the gold Colorista watercolor marker to add some accents to the front of that. You can see it's going to go here for the door. But before I add it, I need to add these white pieces for the inside of like the door and the window. So I'm not inking those up. I'm just going to go ahead and put glue on them and then add them to the rectangle and square shapes on the house. I love all the details to these die sets. Oh my gosh, they thought of everything. Super cute. So after I add that white piece for the door, I'm going to add the orange piece right over top. And then the V-shaped piece is for the roof line, but I forgot to add the circle window. So I'm going to add that, and then I'll add the accent for the roof. I do realize that I put that little circle in with the window line not straight, so I do fix that. There's one more die for this little house, so if you want to make it into a little store, you can use this die and add a store name. So I'm just writing with a black Sharpie Surf Shop, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the Candy Shop pink ink on the edges, and then I'll add that to my house. So now instead of it being a house, it is a little storefront. And I think this turned out so cute. Look how cute that is. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to work on the background for the card. So I take this piece of pattern paper and I'm using this hillside border die from Sunny Studio Stamps, and I die cut the pattern paper. It adds a stitched border in the cardstock. And part of the same die set also is a wave die, so for the ocean. So I have this piece of teal paper from the sherbet cardstock that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to die cut this paper with this wave die because I want to have an ocean in my scene. It actually gives you 2 pieces, but I'm only going to use one of the pieces. And I'm going to use the Oasis ink and just add some ink to the ocean just to add some depth, inking up those edges. And I'm also going to use the sunburst paper from the Sunny Lane paper pad, and I'm going to put some ink around those edges. So the ink I'm using for this one is the Daffodil ink. Now, if you happen to run out of this paper, remember scrapbook.com also has the sunburst die, and you can die cut cardstock and create the same background. So I'm going to add the ocean piece of cardstock, and I'll add that in the middle, just slightly above the center of the starburst. I'm making sure that I'll have enough room for my sentiment. I don't want to put it too high because I don't want the sentiment to go over the ocean. So once I add that, I will snip off the excess on the left and right sides. And I'm going to bring back in this pattern paper that you see here, and I'm just going to add some ink to the edges. The ink I use for this one is the pink lemonade ink. And then this piece is going to go at the bottom of my scene. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the back and then add it to the scene, just covering up right at the bottom of the ocean, just so that the bottom portion of that cardstock is covered. And then I'll just snip off the excess. So I wanted this scene to look like it had colorful brick pavers for the bottom part of the scene. So where you're walking along the beachfront, and then the ocean in the background, and then obviously the sun there at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out a sentiment. I'm going to have the sentiment say hello sunshine, but I wanted to use the die and the stamp set. So the stamp set does say hello sunshine, but I wanted to span my sentiment going across the width of the card layer. So I'm going to have the hello on the left and then the word sunshine on the right. So I'm just masking off the word hello with some mint tape, and I'm going to ink up the word sunshine with some black ink. And after I add the ink, I'll remove the mint tape, and then I will stamp the stamp down onto the pattern paper. I die cut the word hello 2 times, one time from the pink cardstock from the sherbet paper pad and one time from the black cardstock from the playful paper pad, and I'm just stacking those and offsetting them a little bit so I can just have a little bit of black peeking out. I'm not going to use the shadow, just the word hello, and then I'll add that to the card. I'm going to add my little storefront to the card, and then I'll add this to an A2 size card base. So my card base is 4¼ by 5½ inches, and that's going to complete this card. I just love how this turned out. For my next card, I want to make a card utilizing this adorable piece of pattern paper from the Sunny Lane paper pad. I want to show you how you can use your pattern paper and just step it up a notch to make a really cute, fun card. So I have this outline cloud die from Waffle Flower, which gives you this outline of clouds, but also all of the little cutout clouds. I'm not going to use all of them, but I am going to use a few of them on my card. And I am going to add some depth to these clouds by adding some of the sky blue ink to the edges. So you can see that the background has clouds already printed on it. So I thought it would be fun to add some dimension by die cutting an actual cloud die, adding some foam to the back to add dimension to the card. I'm also bringing in the word thanks in the yellow cardstock and adding it to a piece of gray cardstock. The yellow cardstock is from the sherbet pad and the gray cardstock is from the playful pad. So I'll add the thanks to the shadow layer. I'm going to go ahead and add the word thanks first, and then I'll build my clouds around it. So I will have some of the clouds going off of the pattern paper, and I'm going to bring in some larger clouds and some smaller clouds. So I'm just putting them where I want them, and once I have all of the clouds positioned where I want them, I'll go ahead and glue everything down, starting with the word thanks, and then I'm going to take out some foam, cut it down to size, add it to the back of the clouds, and then add the clouds to the card layer. And I'll do that for each one of my clouds, with the exception of the really small one that I'm going to add below the sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to trim off the excess cardstock. And then I'm going to add this to an A2 size card base. I'm going to step this up another notch by just adding some of these silver glitter pops of color. Just putting the pops of color on my paintbrush and then just painting them on the bottoms of these clouds. That's just going to add a little bit of sparkle to my card. Now the pops of color is a liquid embellishment, so this will need to dry. It's not going to take that long to dry just because I'm applying a very thin layer. In fact, it's going to dry rather quickly. Just make sure that you don't handle the card while it's wet, or else you will end up smearing the pops of color. So that's going to complete that card. For my next card, I used the Sunburst A2 die set and die cut a piece of the yellow cardstock from the sherbet paper pad, and I'm adding some of the Daffodil ink all along the edges of that Sunburst and also on the inside of all of those rays. I'm also going to add ink all along the center circle of that die cut. I'm going to layer this on a piece of cardstock from the Sherbet Smooth Cardstock A2 size paper pad because it's going to fit perfectly on that cardstock and I don't have to worry about cutting it. And any one of those colors will look beautiful behind it, but I'm going to pick this orange color. So I'm going to make it similar to the pattern paper that was in the Sunny Lane pattern paper pad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of mint tape in the center and then add the circle back but remove the actual background die. And then I'm going to take some of my inks, and I have the Orange Spice ink, and I'm going to add the Orange Spice as well as the Autumn Leaves ink all around the center of the cardstock. So I'm actually going to start with the darker ink first, which is the Autumn Leaves, and then I'm going to blend that with the Orange Cream. And then once I finish that, I'm going to add some more ink all along that circle die cut, but I'm going to leave a yellow center. Once I finish adding the ink, I'll remove the center circle and I'll go ahead and add glue to the back of the background die, and I'll add that to my card layer. So you can already see the effect that the ink gives when you add it to the cardstock with this die. So by adding that darker ink all along the center where the circle was, you have the darker areas and then it fades out into the lighter areas. I'm going to go ahead and add the center circle. And you can also use that center circle to add a sentiment. So if you just wanted to create a card with this background die and add a quick sentiment, you can do that. Here I'm just adding some more ink along the edges for some more depth, but I'm also going to bring in these Sunny Lane floral dies, and I'm going to use a couple of the flowers from this die set, and I'll add those to my card. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up the edges. I have some teal cardstock, white cardstock, as well as some, it's like a red cardstock. And the paper that I'm using for the colored cardstock is the Sherbet. That's the teal paper. And then that red cardstock is from the Playful paper pad. So you can see just by adding some ink to the edges, it just adds some nice depth to those flower die cut pieces. And then I'll go ahead and put these flowers together. So for my card, I'm going to have one teal flower and I'll also have two of the white flowers. So I do put another white flower together off camera. I'm also going to bring in some ink and just add some ink to the edge of the flowers. It's an ink color that matches that red cardstock, and it's the Havana red ink. I'm going to bring in this hello die and add some of the Oasis ink just to the bottom of the word hello so that it looks like there's a gradient going from dark to light with the darkest color at the bottom and the lightest at the top. And then I'll add that to a piece of the red cardstock. That's the same red cardstock that I used for the center of the flowers. Now I'm going to position the flowers where I want them. I'm only putting glue on the bottom center of the flowers just so that I can pop up the petals, and that will give some nice dimension to the card. So because the petals are popped up, I will need to add some foam to the back of the word hello just so that it's standing above those petals. And then I'll add the word hello to the center of my card. I'll add this to an A2 size card base. And then just like with the previous card, I'm going to bring in some of the pops of color. It's the same color, the silver glitter, and I'm just going to add them to my paintbrush and just paint on some of the silver glitter onto my flowers just to add a nice touch of glitter and just some more interest to my card. And I'll do that for all of the petals. Just look at all of the dimension on this card. When I turn it to the side, you can just pop those petals up and you can see all of that beautiful dimension. I am going to do one last thing. I'm going to bring in some of the Spellbinders Crystal Mix gems and add a few of them to the front of the card just to add a little bit more sparkle. And that's going to complete this card. So moving on to my next card, I am going to be using the Sunny Lane stamp set. I stamped out all 4 of the houses, and I'm just going to add some watercolor to them just to do some quick coloring. I stamped them onto some of the Ranger watercolor paper, and I'm using the Colorista watercolor markers, and this is the Vibrant Essentials pack. So I'm coloring up this first house in the rose pink color, and I'm just using a paintbrush with water to spread the ink onto the house just to add a little bit of a gradient from dark to light. So for my houses today, I am going to be using some of the same colors that are in the paper pad just so that I can match the paper pad. But you can color these any way you want, but I was going for some inspiration with those colors. So if you're ever stuck on what should you color your stamps, look at the pattern paper that you're using if you are using pattern paper and get inspiration from that and try to match up your markers or your colored pencils the best you can to the colors that are in the pattern paper. So I'm not coloring the houses exactly as they are shown in the pattern paper, but of course you could, but I am using some of the same colors. So I have a pink and green house. The pink house is the rose pink and the bud green. I'm bringing in some of the teals with the pink. So the teal there is the aquamarine with the rose pink. And I'll also be using the orange and the yellow marker from that marker set. So these stamps do not have matching dies. And for a minute while I was watching this play back and doing this voiceover, I thought, well, maybe the dies from the Sunny Lane Homes die set would cut these out. But I did try it, and no, they don't, because the dies from the die set are larger than the houses that are on this stamp set. So I did have to fussy cut with my scissors these houses to cut them out to put them on a card, but that was really no big deal because of the straight edges of these houses. So you can see it's really just a straight cut. There's not a lot of curves involved in doing fussy cutting. So if any of you out there don't like to fussy cut, it is a pretty easy cut with the scissors. So when you look at this stamp set, think about all the different possibilities that you can use the stamp set for. And one thing that came to mind, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is making these into a really cute Christmas village. Coloring these with some reds and greens or even some blues would be really, really pretty. And you can even add these to the length of a slimline card. They would fit perfectly on a slimline card. So this set has so many different possibilities. So for my sentiment, I'm using the Love You sentiment, and this word love has a white line going through the middle of the letters. It's pretty unique. I'm just going to take my aquamarine marker and I'm just going to color it up in the aquamarine color. I fussy cut out the sentiment as well as cut down all of the pattern paper that I'm going to use. So I have this piece of the pattern paper. This looks like a pebble sidewalk, and I'm just inking up the edges with some gray ink. It's the Rainy Day ink from scrapbook.com. And then I have this butterfly paper and I'm inking up the edges with the Candy Shop pink. So the gray pattern paper, it's 1 inch by 5¼ inches, and then the butterfly paper is 5¼ inches by 4 inches. I also have a piece of solid pink cardstock from the Sherbet paper pad, and I cut that to 4¼ by 5½ inches. And now I'm just going to add the gray paper to the bottom part of the butterfly paper, and then I'll add that entire layer to the pink cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and glue all of my houses down in a straight line, and I'll add the sentiment "Love You" right at the top. And then I will add that to an A2 size card base, and that will complete this card. So I hope you liked my cards today. Remember that all supplies that I use will be in the description box of this video and on my blog at lisamearsdesigns.com. And the coordinating blog post link will be in the description box as well. If you had a favorite card today, I would love to hear which one is your favorite. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. As always, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. And if you like videos like this, click the subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.